Hello lovely people, today I'm back with another book, aren't I? Yes I am.
Dooby 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 doo. Dooby 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 Sophie Vlogs.
I'm officially going back on a little bit of a book buying ban because these books are all wonderful and I'm really excited to read them. I am aware of the space I have available in my flat, so until I have got through a certain chunk of my read books again, I'm gonna hit pause on the buying, apart from Christmas. But shall we just go into it? Shall we just? Yes. The first book I'm going to talk about is one that I actually ordered way back in July after my birthday, but I mean, this is very positive news. It's done so well that they had to go into a reprint, so I have been not so patiently waiting for it to arrive, but it arrived the other day and I'm so excited. This is The Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar. I love getting really back into middle grade, as I've said a number of times. I think the cover of this is absolutely beautiful and I think it sounds so sweet. It follows, what are your names? It follows Nishat. Her childhood friend Flavia comes back into her life and Nishat gets a bit of a crush on her. There's a school competition which invites students to create their own businesses and they both decide to show off their talent with henna, so it becomes a bit competitive as to who will be the best henna artist, but there's still this little crush at the centre. I really enjoy middle grade and I don't feel like I've read enough middle grade that is about like sapphic romances and stuff like this. So I'm really excited. I think this is going to be really sweet and really lovely, and I cannot wait to dive in. And it's definitely a priority, and I'm so thrilled to have it in my life. This is going to be a recurring theme because I'm really thrilled about a lot of these books, but specifically, I also picked up Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. How could I resist? Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is one of those books that I read a number of years ago now, and it has really stayed with me, and I really need to do a reread, but it's a chunky boy. This sounds completely different, and that's what intrigues me. So this is about Piranesi, who's living in this house. Yes, Piranesi lives in the house, perhaps he always has. He has these notebooks where he makes like records of everything that's within this weird house, and then on Tuesdays and Fridays he sees his friend the other. That's all I really know about this because someone, I can't remember who, said it's really good to go into this book blind and just sort of like embrace it for what it is, and I'm really excited for that. There was a really fabulous interview with Susanna Clarke that made me decide that I was actually going to get off my arse and buy the book, and I will link that down below. But equally, I watched two documentaries that just so happened to be focused on Piranesi, the actual artist, and his weird and wonderful architectural drawings that I'm imagining have inspired the house in this book. And again, I was like, it's a sign. So I've bought it. This is definitely one that I'm going to prioritise reading before the end of the year is out. I'm so excited, and I just think it's a really beautiful book as well, and I don't know what to expect, but that excites me. I also picked up Pandora's Jar, Women in the Greek Myths by Natalie Haynes. I couldn't really resist how beautiful this is. Natalie Haynes is an author that I already like as a person based on like interviews and video clips and stuff like that I've seen of her speaking, and yet I've never read any of her books despite the fact that I did a classical studies degree and I'm very interested in stuff like that. So this just seemed, I was like, let's just do it. So I'm excited for this. Looking at women in Greek myths, which is a topic that I love exploring anyway. So this is a series of stories that explores different women within Greek mythology, and I just thought it'd be a really great like intro to Natalie Haynes' writing, and then I'm hoping I'm going to love this, and if I love it I can go forward and I can buy more of her books and read her like full-length novels. Another book, which is a new release that I'm thrilled for. I don't buy a lot of new releases because previously I do most of my shopping secondhand, but look at me now. This is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. All I know about this is it's a King Arthur retelling with a black girl as the protagonist, and that's everything I needed to know about it. As if I wasn't already sold on it, the lovely Bridie at Indecisive Readers raved about it when it came out, along with half the internet as well. But again, it was the push I needed, and I bought it because I love Arthurian stories. I haven't read as many retellings as I would like to. It's a real area that I want to make sure that I actually like put time into reading because I love it. And I just think that this sounds absolutely wonderful. I've heard nothing but good things, so I am 100% thrilled. Moving on to a random assortment of books, I also picked up Mr. Loverman by Bernadine Evaristo. I absolutely loved Girl, Woman, Other, along with, again, half the world, it seems. And so I decided I wanted to read more of Bernadine Evaristo because I've heard that her books are quite different, and I quite enjoy that when an author does something quite different each time. It is intriguing to me. This tells the story of Barrington Jedediah Walker. He's 74, and he's been married to his wife for many, many years, but he's been having a secret relationship with his friend for 60 years. Essentially, I think that their marriage goes into meltdown, he's got some decisions to make, and I'm really intrigued by this. I think it sounds really interesting. I absolutely loved reading Girl, Woman, Other, and it had a really interesting form to it and that sort of thing. So I'm just really intrigued to see what any more of her writing is like, how different it is, that sort of thing. So I'm really excited for that. Another middle grade that I picked up is Murder Most Unladylike by Robin Stevens. I've heard such good things about this series. It says that Daisy Wells and Hazel Wong set up a secret detective agency at Deep Dean School for Girls, but then one day they discover the dead body of their science teacher, and then when they come back to it, it's disappeared, which is intriguing enough. I've been craving like some mysteries and stuff, especially after October. Again, this is one of those series that I've heard nothing but good things about. I know that the latest one came out this year and everyone has been raving again, so I thought, let's dive onto it, let's start a fun murder mystery series. Yes, yes, yes. I also picked up Wicked Like a Wildfire by Lana Popovic. I'm just going to read you the back because I think it sounds more interesting than I will make it sound. All the women in Iris and Melina's family have the unique magical ability, or gleam, to manipulate beauty. Iris sees flowers as fractals and turns her kaleidoscope visions into glasswork, while Melina interprets moods as music, but their mother has forbidden Iris and Melina to share their magic with anyone, and above all, to fall in love. Their mother is attacked, they unearth an ancient curse, they have to save each other by untangling a bunch of secrets. I just think that all sounds very magical and intriguing. The cover is gorgeous. This is one that I've been meaning to pick up for a few years now because I heard really good things. So let's see what it's like. I kind of like intergenerational. There's a deep secret. There's magic. Yes, yes, yes. Two non-fiction books that I picked up are The Outrun by Amy Liptrot. This is her memoir about, she grew up on the Orkney Islands, which are islands that are just off the coast of Scotland. She left, she went to London, she suffers from some addiction problems, I think alcohol, but I'm not 100% sure. And then she returns to Orkney. So this is part nature writing, because she is talking about Orkney itself and like observing the animals and the nature and that sort of thing. But it's also part this like memoir about battling this addiction and rediscovering herself in this place that she grew up and all that sort of thing. So I think it was Olive at Book Olive who said that this was really good. I did an Oxfam bookshop online shop because I really miss being able to go to second-hand bookshops, and then I just picked up all these ones because I was like, I think so-and-so said it was good. That's who I am. But I also picked up Looking for Transwonderland Travels in Nigeria by Nu Saro-Wiwa. Her father, Ken Saro-Wiwa, was a Nigerian activist who was murdered, and I read about him quite recently. I read Dictatorland by Paul Kenyon, and that looked at Nigeria and specifically did look at her father. But she herself grew up in England, but then this is about her returning to Nigeria and her travels around Nigeria. And I just thought that it sounded really interesting, and I'm attempting to continue exploring countries and stuff like that I don't really know a lot about, so Nigeria is one of those. I just thought it sounded really interesting, and I thought I would give it a go and see what it's like. My mum lent me two books. The first of these is Rune Marks by Joanne M. Harris, which I think this cover is really sweet. This is from Joanne M. Harris's Norse series. I have read The Gospel of Loki, which comes later in this series. I thought it was okay. I have a review that I will link below, which goes into my thoughts in greater detail. Essentially, I had a fun time. I didn't always love the tone/humour of it, whereas I'm assuming that this has a different narrator, so I think I'm going to probably get on with it a little bit better, because this is following a person called Maddie, who will, her life is about to change. She will learn the ways of the old gods, travel the world below, and meet the infamous trickster Loki before embarking on a journey the likes of which she has never imagined. And I'm intrigued by this because, again, something about the Gospel of Loki was that it was, a lot of the stories in it were from the Elder Saga, which I have read, and I had actually read a couple of different versions of this particular year. So, in many ways, I felt like I already knew what was happening, whereas this is like a new story, so I'm really excited for it. And I do like Joanne M. Harris, and it did blow my mind when I realised that she is, all of the variants of Joanne Harris that is on the shelves are all the same woman. She's versatile. She also lent me The Orphan's Tales in the Night Garden by Catherynne and Valente, illustrated by Michael Kaluta. I love Catherynne and Valente. She is one of my favourite writers. She writes across so many different genres, and they don't always work 100% for me, but I always love reading them just to experience what they're like. This, my mum lent it. Essentially, my mum gave it to me because it looks a little bit dark, and she was like, I'm just not there for it this year. This is not the year to read it, so it's mine now. Secreted away in a garden, a lonely girl spins stories to warm a curious prince. So I think it's just going to be a bunch of really, like, magical out there stories, and I am excited for that. Finally, I just wanted to end this video with a handful of books that I've recently got on my Kindle. I just thought I've got all the details on my phone, so I thought I would just read that to you now. So I picked up Gay Pride and Prejudice by Kate Christie, which is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, except Elizabeth falls in love with Caroline, and I love a Pride and Prejudice retelling, especially if it's gay, so I was just like, I'm here for it, I'm ready for it, yes, yes, yes. I also picked up The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds-Reid, which I don't know a huge amount about, but someone, are we getting a real exposure to my brain? Someone said it was really good. But it's focusing, it says here that it's shining a light on girlhood, on blackness, and on class, and I think that all sounds very, very interesting. And again, I thought I'd sort of go in with less knowledge and just sort of see. I'm doing that a lot lately. I'm like, don't need to know too much about it. I'm just going to go in. I'm going to see what it's like. Yes, yes, yes. I also picked up Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, which has been a book for a number of book clubs on YouTube. So again, I've been hearing a lot about it. I know that it is following this black girl who is the babysitter for a white family, and something happens to their house, and so the mother asks her to take the child to a supermarket just to like keep them busy for a couple of hours while they sort it all out. While there, she gets accused of having stolen the child. And then I know that it's sort of to do with like performative activism and that kind of thing. Again, it's one that I've heard a lot of really good things about, so again, I just was like, let's pick it up, let's give it a read sometime. I also picked up Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho, which I actually tried to buy earlier this year, but unfortunately the little indie bookshop I bought it from, they were like, the copy has disappeared, we don't know where it is. So I thought to myself, I'll buy it as an ebook and we'll give it a go. I know that it's set in like Regency London. There's Zachariah's wife is England's first African sorcerer royal, and then there's like a society that's falling apart. There's like a fairy court. I think it sounds really intriguing and almost like vibes of like Jonathan Strange, Mr. Norrell, but I could be inventing that. It could just be because it's like a period piece with magic, you know? I also picked up Dangerous Remedy by Kat Dunn because Izzy I want to say Izzy's Reading, that might not be correct. I'm going to link all of the people who I've mentioned below. She raved about it and she said that she absolutely loved it, and so then I was like, sure, let's get it. It's set during the French Revolution. It's described as a whirlwind of action, science, and magic reveals with a diverse cast of fearless heroines, a band of rebels like no other. So it's following Camille, who is a revolutionary's daughter, who is leading this band of outcasts. And so it's like this exciting adventure story that is set in this sort of like version of the French Revolution. And again, I was like, yes, that sounds fabulous. I'll give it a go. I also picked up Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. Most of what I know about this comes from Monica Kim recommending it. And I know that it's like this intergenerational story following a Korean woman, but I think she marries a man and then goes to live in Japan, and then it's following about 80 years of that family, so it's going down through generations, and really one of those like chunky like intergenerational family stories which I sometimes get like a real craving for, so I'm kind of saving it for like the right moment, but I think it sounds really intriguing. The final two books I want to mention, I'm sorry this has gone on for so long, I picked up Raybearer, I cannot speak today. I picked up Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko, which is about a girl who is raised by her mum, like, away from the rest of society. She is sent to the capital to compete to be chosen as one of the Crown Prince's Council of 11. If she's picked, she'll become part of this council with this deep, deep bond, but her mother has sent her there to kill the Crown Prince. I think that sounds like a really interesting and intriguing setup for a novel, and again, I've heard so many good things about it, so I'm really excited for it. The final thing to mention is, I did already mention the second book in my autumn reading wrap-up, or I will be mentioning it in my autumn reading wrap-up, depending when this video goes live, but I also bought the second and third books in Sawa Tahir's Ember and the Ashes series, because I've been really enjoying them, and I think they're great. gonna stop talking now because my voice is literally going. I hope you're. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of these books. I hope you're having the loveliest of days. Please do leave little chatty comments in the description down below. Not the description. Oh my god, we've gone. We're out. Leave a comment in the comments down below if you would like to, and it would be lovely to chat to you. But otherwise, I hope you're having a lovely day. I hope you have a little bit more brain in your head than I currently do, and I'll see you next time for something different.